Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are connecting from today. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this AI Experience Summit put together by our HR community, Hacking HR. It's been such a phenomenal privilege and an honor to serve you throughout an entire week delivering this summit. I am thankful to all of you for being here, for tuning in. I know some of you have been popping in and out of the summit. Many of you have stayed throughout the days, the past 3 days and today in this summit, tuning into all the panels and all the fireside chats that we've had throughout the summit. So thank you so much to everyone. And I am incredibly appreciative and thankful that you are part of this community. Please, in the comment sections, in whether you are on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, let us know where you are connecting from. It would be great to know where everybody is. I want to thank, a big hug, and I want to really thank all the sponsors that have made possible this summit. Spark Hire, Kika HR, Pearson, LearnWorlds, Personality Pool, Opkey, M-Train, and HeartCount. Thank you so much to all of you for investing in this event, for allowing us in Hacking HR to be able to bring all these speakers and this community to the thousands of attendees who have joined us over the past 3 days. I also want to thank the 100 speakers who have joined us in this event. And today we have a few more sessions, obviously. So I want to thank all the speakers, the panelists, the guests, the moderators who have made this event possible. Without them, without their insights, their generosity, their selflessness, and, the kindness to spend some time with us here at this event, the summit would not have been possible. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to everybody in my team in Hacking HR. Without you, obviously, nothing of anything that we do would be possible. So thank you to all of you. Today is a great day. Everybody in Hacking HR, we're all very happy because today we crossed, actually yesterday, but this morning we posted about it. We crossed 1 million followers on LinkedIn. And, that is That may be a small thing for many, but for us, it's a significant milestone after putting so much effort, creating so much content, delivering so many summits and programs, and bringing so many people together. This is an incredible milestone for us. So we are very, very happy with us crossing that milestone. So thank you to all of you who follow us on LinkedIn. Please go and follow us in the other channels that we have available, Instagram, where we have thousands of followers as well, Facebook and YouTube, and even TikTok. We post fun videos out on TikTok as well. There are a few things that I want to say before I welcome our first fireside chat of the day. Let me begin by telling you a little bit about what's going to happen today, the last day of our AI Experience Summit. And then I also want to tell you what's going to happen on Monday when you get access to all the material from this event. So number one, we are going to have a phenomenal fireside chat talking about AI governance, ethics, transparency, data privacy with Hak Cole, the Chief AI Officer from Microsoft, and moderated by Catherine from SAP. Thank you so much, both. I see them both waiting in the backstage. We will let them come in on stage in just a few minutes. And then we have 3 panels. Today is a light day. It's Friday. We want you to take it easy. We don't want to overwhelm you with so much more content than we already delivered in the past 3 days. But we still have 3 phenomenal panels today. So you got to be very engaged in the conversations that are about to happen. So the first panel of the day after the fireside chat with Catherine and Ha are, the first panel is Human 2.0, Expanding Human Potential in the Age of AI. The second panel of the day will be Synthetic Creativity, When Machines Imagine and Humans Curate. And the last panel of the summit and the last panel of the day will be Intelligence Without Borders, Rethinking AI Access, Power and Participation, and Building an Equitable Digital Future for All. So we have a phenomenal agenda for the event today as well. So let me tell you what's going to happen after the event. So on Monday of this week, of next week, not this week, of Monday of next week, AI can't take us back to the past yet. On Monday of next week, all the videos from all the sessions of this summit will be available in the Hacking HR Lab. You can access all of them, no matter your kind of membership. And I'm going to share a QR code in 1 second that you can scan with your phone so that you can, if you don't have an account in the Hacking HR Lab, you can create it right away. So all the videos will be available on Monday. As we mentioned before, this event offers a digital diploma of participation to all our members, no matter your membership, whether it is free or premium plus. You all will get a diploma of attendance. All you got to do is confirm that you either watched the event live or that you actually watched the recorded versions. And once you confirm that, you will be able to download your certificate, your diploma of attendance. For those of you who are premium or premium plus members, in addition to the virtual diploma of attendance, you will get a Credly badge that you can proudly display on your social media. And to those of you who work in HR, interested in HR recertification credits, you will get those credits as well if you are a premium or a premium plus member. So I'm going to ask you, if you are looking at the screen right now, to please scan that QR code with your phone, unless you're watching from your phone, in which case you will know about this on Monday when we send you an email. But in the meantime, please scan this QR code so that you can create your account in our Hacking HR Lab so that you get access to all the videos. And on Monday, you also can download your diploma of attendance. I also want to invite you to our live mini master on practical applications of AI, which begins on January the 14th of obviously next year. You can scan that little QR code over there to get access to the page of the mini master. But other than that, we will be sending this information via email as well. So everybody, I will be seeing you. I'm emceeing the event today, so I'm going to be doing the transitions in between panels, and I'm going to wrap it up in a couple of hours from now after the last panel. But once again, thank you so much, everybody. We have fun doing this. But ultimately, it is an incredible privilege for us to be able to bring so many thousands of attendees together from all over the world, so many hundreds of speakers to join us and deliver their insights and their ideas to you. So thank you so much. And without further ado, I'm going to bring to the screen both Dr. Catherine and Ha-Cole. Hello, good morning. How are you both?
Good morning.
Sorry.
Good morning. Hi.
It is so good to see you. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you had a great conversation in preparation for this talk. I am so excited to learn how, you are, well, you're such a phenomenal,
I think we might have lost
not only
you.
leader.
Hi,
Can you hear me now? Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Sorry about that. What I was saying is that you're such a phenomenal leader, and we're so thankful that you have joined so many of the sessions and the conversations that we're having. And it's always such a humbling experience to be with you and to learn from you. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And I say this on behalf of my team in Hacking HR and on behalf of the extended Hacking HR community, who is always eager to learn from you. And Catherine, to your team in SAP, it's always, we have Hacking HR, we have so great relationships with SAP, and I learned about you about a month ago. So it's such a wonderful opportunity to get to know you more and learn from you and the work that you have done on ethical AI. So I'm not going to take more of your time. I'll be back on the screen in about 27 minutes from now to help the transition. But please take it away, Catherine, and have fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Enrique. Really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for joining today's session. We're absolutely thrilled to have this conversation, and just as Enrique was saying as well, so honored to have Ha-Cole with us today. So Ha is the Chief AI Officer for Europe, Middle East, and Africa at Microsoft, and she brings such an incredible lens to this conversation around AI, how to make sure that AI is integrated in a way that ensures folks are not left behind. So a really inclusive lens to bringing AI technologies to the workforce. And myself, I do have more of a HR research background. So I'm a research scientist at SAP SuccessFactors, leading some of our great AI research. Really looking forward to this conversation today. I just want to kick us off with, I think, the question that's kind of on everyone's minds, a really, really big question to tackle. From your perspective, with AI becoming increasingly available, how do organizations need to evolve to really stay on that leading edge, remain competitive, and make sure that AI is realizing the potential of their talent workforce as well? So we'd love to get your thoughts on that kind of big opening question.
Goodness. Thank you for having me. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody around the world. It is afternoon in my time right now in London. Just to say that I am the Chief AI Officer for a segment of Microsoft called Microsoft Elevate. And I work exclusively with nonprofit and with schools in the EMEA region. But back to your question, Catherine, let me start here. I was in a 3-day workshop with this whole set of leaders responsible for over 2,000 schools. And at the end of it, the CEO said he no longer thinks of AI as a tool. And then he's proceeded to explain what he meant by that. And I thought it's quite fascinating that he talked about in that sense. And let me explain. Up to this point in the human history, if we want more cognitive intelligence, we hire more people. But we are entering an era whereby we have what's called intelligence on tap. And by that, we mean it's available 24/7, it's in packages, it's affordable, it's on demand, it's accessible for everybody. And that creates a fundamental change in the workplace as well as in our social, our lives and in society as a whole. So in terms of how organization can evolve, we think that we see an emergence of a frontier firm, and is human-led, agent-operated. An agent in this context is an AI would do things on your behalf. And so AI become not just a tool, but it become a digital member of the team. It become your thought partner. And we see this frontier firm concept happening with startup. They go from 0 to 100 million in 12 months. In 12 months, we also see some of this in established firms as well. And so the journey is in 3 phases. First of all, empowering everybody to do the things that they do currently, but faster, better, higher quality. You mentioned that I do care a lot about people. I really do want everybody to be on this journey and not get left behind. And that is the first step. And the second step is to empower everybody to do new things faster and better. And this is where we people work with AI agents. And so think about, suddenly having a data scientist or an economist or a high quality researcher working alongside you 24/7, anytime that you need to be your thought partner. And then in the third phase is about human-led AI operated, with human oversight. We give the agent a goal, and the agent go and work out what it is that it needs to do, and it goes and it executes it, and it refers back to us humans for oversight. So I'm going to go back to that leader who said AI is not just a tool. He sounded out, how we need to work back from this concept of the frontier firm, but also work forward so that we can enable everybody to be on this particular AI journey, maximizing the talent that we all have, respecting human value and so on, and then put the human value first. So that's how I think about it. Maybe you can share, Catherine, in terms of in your research, how do you see the idea of moving beyond seeing AI as a tool? What does the data point say?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ha. And before I kind of share on the research, I do really encourage everyone to check out Microsoft's Frontier Firm research as well. There's so much great documentation there. So if this progression model that Ha has outlined has piqued your interest and you're looking for more, check out Microsoft Lab as well. So this theme around how do we construct a mental model as we approach new forms of AI has been kind of high on our list to investigate, especially from a psychology lens, which is really our team's strength. So we asked people in a global survey, so thousands and thousands of respondents, as well as interviews with senior HR leaders, do they see AI as a tool? Does it fall in that category? Or do they see it as a full-on human teammate? And actually what our research suggested is this third category of a toolmate. So maybe there's actually something evolving here that's unique and different when it comes to AI, and maybe we actually need a new way to represent that. So that was quite an interesting way to frame things, especially as it comes to AI agents, as we're seeing AI maybe being placed on the org chart. We're seeing agents kind of reply in teams. It's getting that feeling of being closer to a teammate. So we'll continue to study this topic, but our early kind of global findings are indicating maybe there's actually a new third category here. And I think there can be some benefits when we think of kind of inclusivity lens of maybe not having too much of a one-to-one, right? Of thinking of, it's not necessarily just like a human intern, but actually contributing in new and different ways to augment human intelligence, to your point earlier as well.
That's right. And I've also seen certain research where if we as people find fulfillment in our work, we thrive, we perform much better, we're much more creative and so on. And I just so value the value of HR colleagues here to be able to affect that, to everybody in the organization so that we can all thrive.
Absolutely. That is so core to our research lens, again, as organizational psychologists primarily, is, how can we maybe not over-index on AI that starts to strip away some of that meaning, but instead amplify and create jobs and work that actually lead people to finding greater meaning and finding their job more rewarding and more human in some ways, right? Like, I think sometimes there's this feeling of like, if we go too far into the tech, taking away from the human nature, but there's actually probably a middle ground where we use tech to really amplify and bring people together in meaningful ways as well. And to your point, for this audience, the HR role in all of this is just getting more and more critical. So I love that point.
I sometimes I think whether I should switch career to and become an organizational psychologist.
You absolutely can. We are a very friendly bunch. So if you ever would like to come to our annual conference, it's going to be in New Orleans this coming year. So it's a fun group for sure. That's great. Speaking of kind of another really key workforce issue, one that is on the minds of many IO psychologists, we have this whole area around early talent. So we know there might be folks on the call that are either early talent themselves or are advising folks who are early talent or tasked with trying to make the most of early talent that's coming into their organization. It's hard enough for kind of the typical employee to stay on track with all the AI trends, all the change, but we can just imagine and empathize for early talent that there could be some particular anxieties today with what we're seeing in the wider workforce. So I'd love to just get your advice surrounding early talent folks. What would you give them as advice for kind of starting to their career in a time where it feels like there's more change and less that's kind of certain than ever before?
Mm-hmm. I want to say this. With AI, everybody is learning all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And there is a certain amount of solidarity, safety in that, because nobody knows everything. Very few people know that. And so I think about AI is a bit like learning to run. The first from 0 to 5 miles can be quite tough because you're getting the muscles exercise, but between 5 and 10 it become much more progressive, is easier, is one step in front of the other. And so I empathize with early in career colleagues. There are data points that say hiring of graduates has declined. It is a real thing, but I think if we also look at it in a slightly different way, companies are hiring. They just hiring the people with 5 or 10 years of experience, being able to act like a manager, to be able to direct other people. And when we go in the world of agents, then we do need a lot of that kind of skills where we need to be able to direct agents. Agents are different to people, though, and so perhaps it's a little bit safer for early in career colleagues to be able to direct agents. How do we all prepare, particularly for young people early in career? I think about AI as learning about AI is being 3 things. First of all, learn to use AI as a thought partner, not as a passive, go find certain things for me to be more productive. We all need to do that, but get to the stage where AI become your thought partners, become more curious, actually get to a stage where you can create agents and AI. It is possible today for everybody to be able to do that. Learning how to learn. I know education organizations say that all the time, but it is critical. And also learning to adapt. We as seasoned colleagues also need to learn to adapt. I adapt all the time because the environment demands all of us too. And so for younger colleagues, then you do need to learn to adapt as well. And my suggestion would be to learn to do these things through solving a real life problem. Find a problem that you're really passionate about. Found a company, get a few people together and really work through those, because you will learn a lot through working through an actual real life problem.
Mm-hmm. And such a great point that like being able to found a company really looks so different today than even a couple years ago, and being able to put those agents to work could be really a powerful way to learn through doing. I also love that analogy. I think we've all had moments in our fitness journey where running was not the easiest, so that's a very relatable image for folks, that if they're feeling like that first kilometer, so to say, is really difficult, that it does get easier with that practice.
What do you see in your research, Catherine, with respect to early, talent and the shift in terms of talent hiring here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the concern that we have, which is shared by many, is that if we do see this shift, which we are seeing, of hiring less early talent in kind of traditional volumes, where does that put us 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? How do those folks that would have normally grown alongside colleagues in the organization, they're not having those growth opportunities if they're not coming in at that junior level? And so I think we're along, again, with many other institutions, wanting to sound the alarm around this. Feels very short-sighted, and this, is going to have potentially disastrous ripple effects should those traditional ways of kind of learning be fragmented. When we did some research on early talent folks themselves, so we kind of asked, what are you considering as a strategy here to be able to join the workforce and mitigate some of these development drop-offs? And actually what we saw was an incredibly high preference for gig work. So we got a stat back of 77% saying they would actually prefer to take on a gig role than a typical full-time role, as long as pay was equal across those roles. And so it's interesting and potentially in some ways concerning to see that maybe early talent is being pushed into going down a gig path. But again, on the flip side, maybe there's some positives that can be gained there, some talent gaps that maybe would have been filled in like a more non-traditional work setup. But that's really the reality that early talent is facing, is that they're needing to get creative, they're needing to go down a less traditional path, potentially being gig. The other piece I would just spotlight as well from our recent predictions research is the idea of what do more senior members of the workforce play as a role to kind of shepherd along those folks who do get hired. And so we've seen kind of a rising trend around fractional advising of more senior members. So being able to make sure that their institutional knowledge is passed on in a more kind of fractional way, where they're moving between groups and even between institutions. And so I think there is a bit of a message here around how do we form like a holistic workforce community versus just kind of leaving this one segment behind. Let's do what we can if we're at other points in our career to make sure that folks are really well integrated.
Just to add to what you just mentioned, this is a hypothesis at the moment, but one of the hypotheses is that with the advent of agents, the traditional organizational structure would be flipped, would change. And it may be that we end up with working more like when you're creating a film, when you're doing a film where lots of expertise come together for a period of time with a particular purpose, particular goal, and then we disperse again and we go and we do different things. The gig work may be not quite so suitable and there's a negative connotation, but if work move to a different model, then maybe our younger colleagues experience it first, and there is some advantage in going first.
Yes, that is such a great point.
Just a personal reflection, just having heard what you just mentioned in your research.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that. And exactly this idea of, we always have to think of the trends we're seeing today. So we're seeing this huge impact on early talent, but what does that look like a couple years from now? And I think you are absolutely on the money with that hypothesis and prediction that, you know, disruption is probably coming for all of us, all layers of the organization, different ways that we need to be ready to kind of flip full structures, full job designs on their head. So there's, yeah, this is today, but how much change is on the horizon? Probably a lot. And early talent may actually be building those skills of being super adaptable to that, while other folks may be less kind of primed for what's coming. So I'd love to switch gears a little bit now and actually hear from you a story around AI making meaningful difference. So I know that this is so closely aligned with your role, and I think that it would be really impactful for folks to kind of hear that story around what did you see as the real impact of AI, and was there anything kind of surprising and exciting that you took away from that story?
Can I give a few stories?
Of course, we have plenty of time. We're doing well in the time, so we'd love to hear.
So I work with a number of nonprofits and education institutions. I'll give some examples around that. The Bridge Heart Foundation is a nonprofit, and they fund cardiovascular research, and they have a big portfolio, have been for a number of years. One of their income model is through donated goods. And so they accept and they resell donated goods so that the income can go into research. And they use AI to determine the conditions of the donated good when it is still at the home of people. And that enable them to route that such good through the right channel. So it doesn't make sense for to pay for £12 the shipping when the value is only £10. That's a whole thought process. Yeah. And through that work, they save some money, and they also manage to raise some income because they can put the right goods into the right channel to maximize the income side of things as well. As you can tell, I'm a big fan because it's such meaningful work in terms of being able to contribute to the mission of cardiovascular research. There are a few other examples, like in the UK government, they trial your personal digital assistant of Copilot, and they find that it saves 26 minutes a day. That's 13 working days a year. Wow. Imagine what we can do with that additional amount of time that we can give time back. There's a lovely story of a surgeon in the England National Health Service. They save 43 minutes a day, means he can go and have a halftime football game with his son. He can also fit in another operation during the week. That's meaningful. Yeah, absolutely. And one last example is the Education Authority in Northern Ireland, and that is with schools. So they trial 100 teachers and principals, and they find that they save up to 12 hours a week. Wow. Now, I'm an even bigger fan of this, because I think about this. You can look at it and say, oh, the technology is great, it saves so much time. But you can look at it through the lens of a human. These teachers and leaders have been putting up with that amount of time and effort in order to do good for their students. That passion is immense. And for me, I'm going to go back to HR leaders now and put it onto the human aspect of it. Imagine if we can save so much time, we can give people so much time so that they can then be delivering the value of what they go into their job in the first place. And I think there's a bit of shaping, there's a bit of molding that HR leaders are really great at, that, can help with that particular journey, not just transitioning, but actually thriving through the right level of support. And I'm going to call it molding, whatever the right term is.
No, that's great. I thank you so much for sharing all of those stories. That it really paints the picture. And I think especially as you kind of depict those caring roles, the employees that went into those professions did so because they are obviously so passionate about wanting to help people with their health or help, educate the next generation. And so just, really paint that picture and imagine how people that have really gone into those like caring professions can be augmented and able to have hopefully a little bit more balance in their lives too, right? Because often with those types of roles, there's that feeling of just wanting to give and give and give, and that can lead to some compassion burnout as well. And so being able to give people really substantial time back, to your point as well, like this is, even beyond a full day, it's pretty powerful to hear. It's great. I know we just have a couple minutes left together. I want to make sure we can make the most of that. The final question that I would love to get your thoughts on, and I'm sure the audience would be interested to hear, if we were having this conversation a couple years from now, so we put ourselves in the future, maybe it's 2030, what would you hope would be different about how organizations are working with AI? What change would you love to see a couple years down the line?
A lot could happen.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the AI capability is here. It's just not yet in the mainstream being used. So I talked earlier about creator of apps and agents. Most people don't yet realize that individual users could do that today. So I would love to see that everybody be able to do that, and then be able to not just save time, but be more creative, optimizing processes and all of those good things, right? The other part of it is I would like to see many more organizations to be much further along on the frontier firm journey with human-led and agent-operated. So my hope is that by us being creator of agents as well as being users of agents, we can discover new value add alongside with agents for ourselves as individuals, for the team that we work with, as well as for the organization that we work within. From that point, then there's an awful lot more that AI would, bring in terms of capability. For me, it's very much about being strong preparation and readiness to be able to adopt whatever comes along is what I would love to see.
Mm-hmm. That's, absolutely fabulous. And just to maybe kind of double click on what you said as well, that's what we're kind of predicting in our research is around how can we use AI to not just offload tasks that people don't want to do, but instead to find a way to cognitively amplify. So we see this trend around, how do people use AI for their work, and especially their challenging or thinking work. And we feel like there's this fork in the road that's coming around, are we all going to default to clicking the easy button and offloading all of our hardest work? And what does that maybe take away from our experience and even our capabilities down the line? And so we're really hopeful in our research team around, can we put the right guardrails in place for people to actually amplify their thinking and, maximize the way that they're doing things, and even re-examine, does this output that I'm working towards actually make sense in this new world as well, like kind of questioning how we've always done things. So I completely,
so when is that
completely
research
agree,
coming
and I'm
out?
hopeful about what that future will look like. I think we have Enrique rejoining.
Hey, this is exactly what happens when I need to.
Thank you so much, Ha. It's been such a pleasure, and I know I can reflect that back from the audience as well. I think there's been so much value, so much insight dropped in this 30-minute fireside. So really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you. Thank you both. Ha, Catherine, thank you so much for this phenomenal conversation. Inspiring, phenomenal.
I don't think we're getting your audio. I don't know if that's just me.
Oh, I think we are. I think it's probably going to be on your end. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna let you go so that I can welcome the next panel. So hi, Catherine, thank you so much both. You have a beautiful rest of your day, and we will continue the conversation for sure. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day and weekend. Thank you, and for everybody tuning in right now, we are about to start the first panel. So this was the first fireside chat of our last day of the summit. And we are about to welcome the very first panel of the day. And the name of that panel is Human 2.0, Expanding Human Potential in the Age of AI. I see that all of our speakers are ready in the back end to come to the stage. So I'm going to be welcoming you all to come to the stage right now with me. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So good to see you all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you. I have no clue, but it's wonderful to see you all. I'm excited to learn from you. And Petra, please, thank you for moderating this panel. Take it away. I'm going to be in the background if you need me. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yes, it's evening for me, but I'm excited to be here on this Friday evening. Nothing else to do. People don't party anymore, so we do panels these days. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And as Enrique already gave an intro on, we are searching for answers on how do we expand our potential in the age of AI, because we're often talking about, what will change for us? Will the jobs change? Will how we work change? But let's try to think about a different way and how we can expand because of help that AI gives us. So I have a few great panelists with me. And yes, if each of you can just give a quick introduction, so your name, last name, and the organization, and then we're going to go into the questions as well that we have, that I have for you today. So I would start with, let's say, Kim, that I see first on my screen.
Sure. Thank you, Petra. So my name is Kim Eldred. I lead the learning function for our consultants at RSM, which is a professional services firm that leads the middle market. I've been there for about 2 years, and am excited to join you for this panel today.
Thanks. Then I see Bridget.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bridget Wilder. I serve in the role of Chief People and Culture Officer for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. I call myself a people detective, though, because my job is to listen to what people say, but also to what they don't say to help them solve their problems and concerns.
Nice one, people detector. I might use that one. All right, Renuka.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. All right, now I hear you. I didn't hear you before.
Okay. Well, my name is Renuka Iyer, and I lead the human resources function at PAMA. PAMA is a trade association. We represent all the manufacturing, the big pharma here in the United States, and it's a very interesting time to do this work and to be the voice of the people and to stand for medicine. And so I'm looking forward to this panel and what the panel has to say. I think AI is super important in helping us be more effective in what we can do. So I'm excited to be on the panel and also looking forward to listening to everyone.
Thanks. Then I have Adam Hopewell.
All righty. Good morning. Or good afternoon, good evening. Delighted to be here at the AI Experience Summit. My name's Adam Hopewell. I've spent the last 20 years living and working all over this wonder-filled world, helping organizations understand how people and intelligence systems help learn and work together. I spent the last 5 years in an applied AI company that provides to tier 1 banks. So very intense work there on the applied AI side front. Background in global HR, talent and AI talent systems, and organizational design and development. And really looking forward to exploring human potential and its application more here with the group today. So hi and welcome all.
Thanks. And last but not least, Sarah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Dillard. I'm the founder at U&AI. And I work with individuals and organizations on improving their capability to deploy AI in ways that matter to their work and their lives. And what's unique about my work is I work across all three kind of companies, especially tech companies, the education sector, and directly with high school and college students. So I kind of see both the supply and demand side of how things are changing. And to borrow Bridget's framing, I'm an AI detective. So I am both a detective of the tools of kind of what their capabilities are, how they're always evolving, and then match up with workflows that matter in the world, and helping people kind of make those connections for themselves and their organizations.
Okay, that's a new one, AI detective. Yeah.
Well, I first time trying it out.
So I'm happy to learn from all of you as well, new things. So it seems I have a lot still to learn. So I will just get going now with a few questions, maybe based a bit on your expertise as well, but I will target it now to specific people, but everybody can then chip in if you as well have something extra to contribute from your point of view. And so we are talking a lot that, technology is helping us in many ways, but how do we unlock the human potential in this era of technology? So AI is accelerating everything, but not our, let's say, self-awareness and our inner growth. So how do we unlock that from what is inside of us that will support us to be better, different human beings, let's say? And I would ask here on this point, Renuka, to support me with that answer.
Thank you. And I hope my voice is audible now. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think about AI like my intern, right? Who I'm committed to advancing in their career from an internship to maybe the next level and the next level and the next level. What am I trying to say? Right now, AI can augment the tasks that humans do. It also helps us bring and collate information such that our decision making is faster, more inclusive of all elements that we've got to think about. So one thing to do is to train the AI. So if you're asking me, how do we unlock human potential will be in coaching AI to be better at itself, and then it trains you back. So almost like this dance between humans and machines. And I think HR's role in all of that is to orchestrate that dance such that the human mind can make AI more robust, and AI in turn can make the human mind more robust. And of course, I'd like to, at some point in time, also talk about how we go about this in a world that is requiring us to be working at top speed and with this amount of change. It almost seems like you're swirling all the time. So how do you do that at in the pace that's required to do this dance and orchestration between humans and machines?
Is anybody else dancing? Sarah.
Yeah, I had just like two concrete things to offer here. One is that like if you interact with AI, a reasonable amount, not even that much, it starts kind of developing a sense of kind of your strengths and capabilities, right? And so whether you are a StrengthsFinder person or a Myers-Briggs person or an Ocean or Enneagram person, it knows all these frameworks. And so you can kind of ask it kind of like, how do you see me falling out? And so, for example, the first time I did it with StrengthsFinder, like 4 of the 5 things that it kind of immediately said were the same as after I spent 30 to 45 minutes taking the Gallup assessment. And to be honest, it probably had, kind of better insight because it sees my revealed work versus what I think about myself. And so I think that AI is already kind of providing some of these tools, and you can then kind of like write back into project instructions, put into your AI's memory ways that you want to be coached based on these insights that are being surfaced, whether from AI or from kind of like your real world colleagues or real world assessments.
Okay, I would be interested in Brigitte actually, because you said that you can see the people's their strengths, and how do you work with AI in detecting that?
I'm about to age myself with this analogy. I think of AI like I think of the Bionic Man. The Bionic Man, what was already there before the technology, he already had instincts, he had judgment. He had experience, right? But the AI enhanced him, but it didn't change who he was. It didn't change his humanity. So it's the same thing with AI and Human 2.0. We're not trying to build new humans. We're trying to give them tools that will help them to be better, to be more capable, and to do it faster because they have information quicker. But we have to balance as leaders, balancing the HI, the human intelligence, with the AI. So we have to help our people to focus on, yes, you got this great information, but you still got to make decisions. AI provides information, but people provide the judgment. They determine the direction. So we got to get them out of as well, depending on AI to tell them the decision. They need to make the decision. They got to be able to have critical thinking and be able to know, when do you rely on AI for the information, and when do I need to lead the direction to implement what's going to impact people? Because that's where it all starts.
But how can you do that responsibly? How can you do that with empathy and something that maybe AI doesn't have?
Right. For me, what I try to do with anything, whether I'm talking about AI or anything, I start with clarity of why I want to do something. You got to tell people at first, even get them to buy into AI and not them think, oh, this is going to take away my job. You have to tell them the why behind it. Am I using AI as a team to help improve productivity, effectiveness, to get information sooner so that you can do the work I need you to do, meaning make decisions, come up with initiative, but use this tool to help you to get it done quicker. Then as a leader, I have to be able to provide some change management and clarity regarding where we're going and make decisions and model that. Because people will hear what you say, but they're going to watch what you do to determine, can I trust this? And is this thing, this AI, this tool you're telling me to use going to take away my job? Or is it just going to help me to make it better so that I can be a more effective and more strategic and impact people? And then tell them the results of what they've done by using the tool. Also, you got to have them understand they can use it, but these are the boundaries. These are the parameters, and own that you used it. I don't want to think that you gave me an idea that wasn't yours. Use the AI to build out your idea and then apply it to my environment and acknowledge that and be able to talk about it as a team where people don't think that they got to sneak to use it, but you got to tell people up front how they can use it, when they can use it, and when they cannot.
Thank you. And then maybe relating to what you have just said, a question for all of you. So Kyle, how can really leaders then design this environment intentionally to cultivate the human potential in this new rising era of AI, if we can call it like that? So really that human aspect of creativity, empathy, judgment, how can leaders design that environment for us? Adam, unmuted.
All right, I'm happy to leave in a little on that.
Okay.
I think one of the ideas that we need to keep constantly front of mind is the evolution of AI and its capabilities, because this is a highly dynamic situation. I think the problem with trying to establish what I classify as static frameworks that give us guidance as to when and where it's best used, are not adaptive enough. I've been using AI in major corporate programs since 2019, when we were using IBM Watson in China to help devise predictive and prescriptive actions for managers relating to attrition. Back then, there was no chatbot interface like ChatGPT or Gemini. That was the hardcore stuff back in the earlier days. And then since November 2021, when we got GPT original launch, we've seen the development of the capabilities over time. It's been almost exponential growth. The issue we have is trying to decide, like for today and for tomorrow, how do we decide what capabilities AI can bring effectively to the table? How do we keep this dynamic? And I think the only viable operating model now is a dynamic one. We are heading towards Holonomic type organizations, which are much more fluidic in the way work tasks and work streams are like defined and then allocated. And where do those different types of human and digital intelligence combination allow for the best outputs from an organizational standpoint? So anyway, I like to look at the entire spectrum here, all the way from what I would call pure HI, all the way to pure DI. And I prefer DI these days even to AI term. I think it's not artificial anymore, really. It's digital. And then there's like, between the two extremes, there's 4 distinct stages, like amplified human intelligence, augmented human intelligence, then you've got applied digital intelligence and agentic digital intelligence. And deciding where on this spectrum tasks and outputs are best created, the capabilities for such are best created. That's what leaders now need to most focus on, is being able to understand how that mixture, how that cocktail is put together in the most effective manner. And it's almost like horse archery. Like there's moving targets, you're on a moving platform with moving targets, and you're trying to draw a bow and aim at business objectives. It's a highly complex world we're living in as we try and adapt to something that's moving, multiple factors moving coherently.
And each country is doing it differently, each company is doing it differently, so you don't have one like size that fits all. So on the spectrum, each company is on a very different side. Kim, you wanted to add?
You know, whenever I have these conversations with people, I always go back to basics. The most successful organizations and structures are founded in trust. And as we are relying on all of these new tools, if the organization doesn't have trust, if the people in those organizations don't trust enough that even though this tool exists, they have affection for me. They don't want to take my job. They want to augment what I do. So I've been focusing a lot with teams on the elephant in the room, about that conversation, about what it's going to take my job, and trusting that as an organization, we are looking collaboratively and collectively to go together. I joke with the folks who are developing people in our consulting office that I am their target audience. I am incredibly curious. I want to use it, but I don't know enough. And if I'm too busy, I will abandon it and go do something else. And so we've actually created a whole work stream around me as sort of that persona of let's give people quick wins so they get really excited about it and then they start to lean into it more. And it has helped us actually give people confidence and trust that this is going to benefit them as well as the organization. And I think that's what's going to be really important as we move forward. If we just look at the tool and the technology and we leave the people piece out of it, which is what we do in talent and HR, that's where we're going to have that failure point.
Yeah. Maybe, Kim, if I take on your point, what you have mentioned now, so the trust and building on, often it's difficult to trust people that are just coming into our company or you don't know them very well. And AI is has a bad reputation that it will take on many entry-level tasks. It's a new reality, let's say, that everybody is thinking about. So how do we anyway take AI, what we have, and the new people, and what you have said, maybe trust them to build up, to scale up, but that they will still have the maximum impact in the roles that they have in their development, despite the limited experiences and what actually AI is taking on now in comparison to that.
Did you want Kim to answer that question? Or is it open to all of us?
I mean, Renuka, you can start and then, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, maybe also touching a little on the last question that you asked, what can organizations do? And this one. I think you could look at it at different levels. What can you do to support individuals? What can you do to support teams? What can you do to support the entire organization or strategically? I think at the individual level, you could think, organizations can think about what is necessary in the organization design. So for example, do you have a designated focused AI team that's going to lead the way in terms of what AI to use, you know, what AI is going to be within the firewalls of the organization and those types of things, right? The what of the AI into the organization. At the team level, I think the organization has to be focused on operationalizing the use of AI. And so when I say operationalizing, it is about some of the things we've talked about. How do we remove the fear of using AI? You know, how do we develop critical thinking and incentivize critical thinking? How do we manage knowledge? Because particularly the way I think about AI is it's simply a tool that's used to manage the knowledge of the organization. So how do we create more knowledge within the organization? And I could think about maybe a process like an after action, right? We also, every time we complete a project, let's say all of us in HR right now, we're doing performance management, and soon we'll complete that. So when we complete performance management, do we just go on to the next year, or do we do an after action to think about what worked well, what didn't work well, and pull out the intelligence, the human intelligence that machines will not have, and then use that to augment. And then I think at the organizational strategy level, when we make our decisions, are we making sure that we are taking into consideration all aspects and using AI to make sure that the data points we get are more inclusive than we've traditionally looked at? Because usually when you're in a strategy session, you don't have the entire organization. You have a part of a team there. Usually it's the leadership team that's in the room. And sometimes I've seen that in leadership meetings, groupthink happens. So how do you use AI to make sure that the individual element of sorts remain, right? How do you bring that voice? And I think you could think about that at the strategy level to make decisions.
Yeah.
I think that's a fascinating consideration, especially from the leadership perspective, when you're not the smartest or most informed person in the room anymore. Leaders are typically sat in a position where they have more access to information than anybody else, and therefore have the ability to make the smartest decisions from holistic factors. When an AI system has more organizational knowledge than the entirety of the leadership team combined, and has that in an analyzable form, are AI recommendations even stronger and more valuable for the organization than leadership ones are? Which are the decisions leaders should be making, and which are the guidance that AI systems should be providing? I think it comes back into that trust scenario. And I've been using an algorithm for trust for years and years, since Stephen Covey Jr. wrote The Speed of Trust, like using an algorithm based on perceived connection, perceived competence, and perceived character. And I use that for individuals, for human-to-human interaction, but also I think that's perfectly mappable onto human-to-AI interactions. When is perceived connection, competence, and character is high, then that establishes trust. It works between individuals, and as I say, like when you can feel that the system has the competence, it can do what it's asked being done. It has the character, and it will do what it's being asked to be done and follow through on its commitments. And does it connect? Does it understand the context in which it's working? When all three of those factors are optimized, then trust is created. And I've measured and seen this in dozens of organizations. And I'm seeing that now more and more with AI systems, with people who are interacting on a daily basis. Those perceptions of connection, of competence, character, and connection even and the connection was the one I thought wouldn't come. But even people are feeling connected now to their AI systems as they're using them on a day-to-day basis, especially in amplified human intelligence scenarios. So anyway, I think the trust idea is fabulous and something that needs continuous evaluation and further thought, as does that leadership. What does leadership look like in the world of AI-supported digital intelligence?
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to add to this is, I think about in the 80s, I was a computer science major. And this is during the time of mainframes and DOS. And when Windows came out, we were highly offended as programmers, because how dare you? You're not a coder, you're not a programmer, right? And it wasn't until we started opening our minds and saying, okay, it's here. How can I use it to help me to be better at what I'm trying to do? And where I'm going with that as it relates to AI and as it relates to working with your teams and your people is that one thing that being a computer science major taught me was to think big picture. Where do I want to end up? And then breaking down the steps. So when I'm talking to people about AI or any type of platform that we're going to use at work, we start with our why. What is it that we are being overwhelmed with that if we didn't have to do it or we could streamline it, that life could be better? We start with that before we even start talking about a platform or a tool, right? And then once people understand the why and what it can do to help them to get rid of the busy work, what things that's important, but they can do it quicker, then they're going to be most likely to use it, and they're going to be using it in the way that you want them to, in an ethical way, to accomplish the goals of the organization and their goals and their why. So that's where it's really important, is that we start first with the why. What is it going to help us to achieve? And then what's the right tool, whether it's AI or something else, and get people to tie it back to their why so that they use it in the right way.
Thank you for adding that. Yeah.
We're back to classic Covey at that point, which is starting with the end in mind and then deconstructing from that point onwards. Outputs are where we need to start so that you can define what capabilities are needed for outputs, and then what mixture of capabilities, whether human or digital intelligences, feed best into those capabilities. And also the cognitive atrophy question, I think, is something that we need to keep, especially in this discussion, this group we're having today, as we outsource more of our cognitive capabilities or capabilities to AI systems. Which ones do we treasure the most? Because those muscles will become weaker. The less you use a muscle, the weaker it becomes, and that will we will see cognitive atrophy in organization, like putting together plans, like strategic thought, because we're asking for strategic inputs on this. Like when I come to plan a workshop these days, the first thing you do, okay, let's plop that into ChatGPT or to a Gemini project. Like I'm outsourcing that cognitive capability, and that muscle, that mental cognitive capability will get weaker over time. So I think it's really vital that we consider as well, like how do we continue to strengthen the muscles that we need most for the value that we contribute into this mixture the most.
Maybe to connect my next question with what you said, it's very interesting because we're leaving the decision-making and the judgment to AI, but how can the AI change the way employees are building judgment and decision-making? So a bit of question to everyone on this one. So the judgment and decision-making, how can AI support us? Kim?
So actually, we're using it to help augment the judgment as a coach or a tool. So there are ways that people can use it as part of their own development. But I actually think the human collaboration becomes even more important in this time. It goes back to partially trust, but you're testing each other. You're asking each other, how am I thinking? Does this make sense? Am I being critical in the right ways? How did you read this? As an English major who did not go through a formal business training, or, I call it sometimes the vocational training, I see a resurgence in that area of the liberal arts and places where people are forced to think critically. And we need to, for the folks in our organizations, help them do that in new ways. And I think as we want them to work together, human-to-human interaction is going to become increasingly important. You know, I left a leadership workshop this week. We talked all about the skills they were building, how they were going to apply it. It's not just the knowledge, it's that application piece. And if we can't help them do that collectively, people could go back to their own, you know, camera and computer, and we will all end up, I think, out of work in different ways. So really forcing those interactions, I think, is going to become increasingly important for us.
Yeah, we get too comfortable in AI. Anybody wants to add on that?
Yeah, I could offer a question for all of us to think about. I think we'll have to move towards openness in thinking and almost like funnel thinking, instead of simply saying, okay, this is what I'm, based on this situation, based on the data I have, this is, and if AI is telling me this, yeah, maybe that's the right way to go, right? I think the question we're asking is, what other options are present? And whether you ask that to AI, whether you ask that to other humans, it is a question I think that will gain more and more importance, and keep asking that question. What other options do we have right now? And oftentimes AI itself might be able to give you a whole different option, right? Which it didn't spit out in the first place. And so asking that question, making that, and doing the deliberation work right up front before the decision is made is so important. If not, you get on a path that may not lead you to what you are trying to get done. I also think that it's, you know, yes, there is a requirement to make speedy decisions. I totally agree. But I think the piece that will really get rewarded in the end is getting things done. So it's not about just making the decision. It's about, is that decision leading to the outcome that you were set out to get in the first place? Yeah. So I think it will become about the outcome. And so asking, you know, what other options do we have? Asking that of AI or asking that of humans might serve as well.
And I teach a framework that I call writing. So it's lowercase writing, uppercase writing, and writing with an exclamation mark. And kind of like lowercase writing is things like documentation or FAQs, where kind of authorial voice doesn't matter, but the content does. Exclamation point writing is where kind of like the voice really matters. And then you've kind of got uppercase writing in between. So in between, you've got things like emails, LinkedIn posts, where there's some amount of voice, but also kind of, it's not kind of like you are a published author or it's the most important decision you've ever made in your life. And I think the same is actually true for decisions, right? You could have lowercase decisions, uppercase decisions, and decisions with an exclamation point. And how you collaborate with AI should actually be different across that spectrum, where kind of like with lowercase decisions, speed really matters. And it's things where kind of like you can unmake the decision quickly, right? And with decisions with an exclamation point, they're hard to walk back. They matter materially. You want to make sure that you're not kind of like giving your first pass decision making over to AI, that you're actually thinking about the framing, then you're bringing it in as like a collaborator and a critic. And the decision making should actually be, how you use AI should actually change across the type of decision that you're making. It's the kind of framework that's like very simple, but I think very helpful for organizations to have as part of their vocabulary. So as you're going to make a decision, you can say like, hey, this is like a lowercase decision, speed matters, or like, hey, this is uppercase. Like, let's actually like step back and think about the framing here.
Is this your method, or can we quote somebody so people can go and check after this session?
Yeah, I made it up. I use it.
You made it up.
Without AI.
Nice. Okay. Right. All right. So people.
But I actually think to tie it back to something that like, to tie it back actually to something that Adam said earlier, I think it's kind of a like world-facing version of what he's essentially describing the back end, right, of kind of how you collaborate AI intelligence and human intelligence. And I'm describing kind of the front end of like the activity that you're doing in the world. And so I do see a link between those ideas.
Great. Okay. So we have like around 10 minutes left, but I would still like to ask all of you a general question. Maybe all of you can answer, or let's see who would like to give an insight, but let's all be a bit detectives, like Sarah said, and just guess. So what will happen? Will AI really expand our potential or diminish it? Because as I said a bit before, we're often just blindly looking for solutions in AI, typing, what should we decide? Our strategies are put into, ChatGPT and so on. And we're relying on AI for many things. So general question, will AI really expand our potential or diminish it? Because I'm still a bit skeptical, and it's connected with what Adam said in our cognitive capabilities for the future.
It's a big question, but I think the primary answer here is it depends on us. We are essentially teaching these systems how to think, how to process. Are they going to be better, cheaper, faster, safer, the majority of economic tasks than humans are over time? I think it's fairly indisputable that, especially in intelligence-based work, and especially with robotics coming in as well, or with embodied work as well, the better, cheaper, faster, safer framework, those AI systems and their robotic embodiments are going to tick most of those boxes. They're going to be able to do those things better, cheaper, faster, safer than humans are. It's where we sit inside that scenario where the human in the loop continues to add value. Because if you're not adding economic value, then why, if you're the weakest player in the room, imagine you've got a set of AI agents, all PhD capability in their field with all the experience in the world to draw upon. Would you rather go to a doctor who has access to every piece of information ever categorized? Or would you rather go to a doctor that has human limited capabilities in some ways? I'm using doctors as an example here, but this is a parallel which we can draw. So really the answer to the question is whether AI will amplify humanity is based on what humans are going to add in at this time. It's almost like the formative years of a teenager or a child moving into teenagers. What lessons are we teaching? What are we providing as the data input of its interactions with us over time is going to really help shape that. And I think the biggest thing that we give is value stewardship. Like humanity will continue to give value stewardship. And that's what we should treasure most giving, because we aren't going to be the smartest players or the smartest thinkers in the room going forward. And how we live in a world with that, we've got to have the confidence and humility to be able to process that as individuals, as teams, and as organizations. Anyway, that's Adam's stubbornness on that.
Yeah. I think Sarah wanted to add as well.
Yeah, because I think you have a great answer from a macro perspective, and I'd like to provide like a micro individual perspective, right? Because at the individual perspective, it can easily be a crutch or a lever, right? Like you can use it to do your work for you. You can treat those exclamation point writing activities as if they're lowercase writing and learn nothing and kind of get away with it, at least for now. Or you can kind of close the gap between your curiosities and your capabilities in a way that you never could previously. Like I was not coding before AI, and now I build things with code regularly to kind of help me, to help my business, to kind of build little things that would never be commercial applications, but that actually speed up things that are particular to me and my workflows. And it feels really amazing to be able to have new forms of agency. And so I think kind of like if humans kind of for the last many years have been rewarded for having that kind of deep, I think kind of now the ability to have multiple capabilities and like the age of the generalist is back. Where kind of like I was trained as an analyst at Bain right after college. And so my skill set was kind of like in Excel and Access. And now kind of like in addition to kind of, the equivalents of those, you're also going to have Python and JavaScript and HTML. And it's going to be normal to be able to kind of like work across a much larger set of skill sets. And so at the individual level, I think there's both kind of the ability to like use it as a crutch, and there's the ability to kind of like use it a lever and become like the 10x version of yourself.
Yeah. And I'll just add to use it as a lever, in is the way out. What I'm trying to say is when we bring ourselves individually to stillness, when we can manage the internal chatter, there is clarity, and we've talked about clarity, we've talked about critical thinking, and from that clarity, we can really use AI as a lever and not use it as a crutch.
We are using in HR often the expression as well that you are a T-shaped person. So that's a bit connected with what Sarah says. So yes, of course, we were learning to be specialists, but now we have to be generalists as well. So both. Bridget?
I think it's important too to demystify AI. As we said, it has to be trained, and sometimes it can be wrong. And that's where the human component come in. And sometimes when I've used it, I'd have to tell it, hey, that's not right. And it'll analyze and say, yeah, you're correct. I've done some more research, here it is, right? So you still need the human component to be able to use it effectively. But I also think it's important as leaders that we're transparent about what it can replace. It's going to replace some of those minutiae that if our teams didn't have to do that, they can focus on higher level things. But then that also depends on us as leaders to train them so that they can be prepared to do higher level things and to ask them, okay, you use this tool, validate it for me. Tell me how this is correct and how this is going to help our business. You got to put them in positions where they have to think, they got to be critical, and they got to be able to tell you the why and own their decisions. And when it goes well, reward them. And when it don't, let's have some discussion about what we can do better. But it's also, again, you got to demystify it because technology has been around for a long time. You know, we didn't always have internet. I didn't grow up in the internet in the 80s. Windows didn't exist in the early part of the 80s. It didn't take away everybody's job, but it did on some. But if you upskilled yourself and your company allowed it, you got to do something else. So we have to own that component as employees as well, because we're all employees regardless of our role. How are we developing ourselves so that we can be contributing, if not in our current role, in another role that can help the company?
Yeah, and I would say I think we need to incentivize the right behavior, right? We want thoughtful people who are utilizing tools. And so we need to make sure that our leaders know how to do that. The way that we compensate people is pointing, because there is a risk of both being right. You know, we could expand human potential, but it could also decline. So I believe if we can keep people thinking about what they're doing and tracking towards the right thing and incentivizing that as part of the work we do in human resources, I think it will be helpful.
Thanks, Kim, for this as well closing remarks. So basically, yes, let's be AI detectives. Let's dance with a human component and AI component all the time. But I think we have found out that, trust is the key. Thanks, everyone. Enrique is joining us.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks for these great insights, all of you.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being part of this phenomenal conversation. Exciting number of insights. One thing that I do take away, which has been a commonplace throughout the entire event, is the technology will continue to evolve, but it's already very much there, as in higher productivity, efficiency, effectiveness, whatever you want to call it, right? It is the human side of things that will require a lot of work, redesigning organizations, redesigning hierarchies, silos, leadership structures, leadership skills, trust. So all of these things are on the human side. None of it is on the technology side. So we do have a lot of work to do to make sure that we are ready for the great power of AI, but also to be mindful about the limitations that we have with AI. So Petra, thank you for leading this awesome conversation. Brigitte, Kim, Sarah, Adam, and Renuka, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you go now so that we can move on to our next panel. So just please help me, start, letting off stage this amazing group of speakers. Thank you once again to all of you for being here. We are about to start the second panel of the day, and then we have one more. So today is a shorter day. We're giving you a little bit of a time off on Friday, so we're not going to have 6 panels like in all the other 5 panels. I'm sorry, like in the all other days. It's only 3 today. So this next panel is called. It's actually it follows a thread of all the conversations that we've had throughout the week. And this next panel is called Synthetic Creativity When Machines Imagine and Humans Curate, or vice versa, by the way, depending on the direction in which the panel wants to take this conversation forward. And before welcoming them, I want to remind you, because I have 1 minute before welcoming the next panel, I wanted to remind you all that the videos of all the sessions, and there were 19 sessions plus 4 fireside chats, so 23 sessions, the videos of all the sessions of this AI Experience Summit will be available to you on Monday of next week in the Hacking HR platform. And to all our members, whether you're a free member, a premium member, or a premium plus member, for all of you, you will get access to a digital diploma of attendance for having participated in the event either live or if you watch the recorded videos that will be available on Monday. All you got to do, obviously, you got to be a member in our platform with an account in our platform, free or not. So please, for those of you who have your phones with you right now, scan this QR code. It will take you to the Hacking HR platform. Either way, we will share this via email on Monday. We will give you the URL. You can go there, create your account, and get access to all the videos if you missed anything from the summit this week, and you will be able to download your digital diploma of attendance, whatever membership you have. So I hope that you are taking note of that. So once again, this next panel, synthetic creativity, when machines imagine and humans curate, or the other way around. So Jessa, please help me bring everybody to the stage, if you don't mind. Hi, Kate.
Hello.
Good to see you. Hey, Noelle, Stacy, Jordan, Arsu, thank you so much for being here. So good to see you all. I know we have one person who can't join us in the panel today, but I am excited about the conversation that you are about to have. So Kate and everybody else, I'll be in the background if you need me with Jessa, and eager to learn a lot from you. Thank you so much. Kate, please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I loved that this is really closing out the week. Most of our conversations here are focused on automations and productivity and the tasks and to-dos that AI can do. And this one's really the opposite. It is, how do we bring in AI to amplify the humans through their, synthetic creativity? And what changes when they're generating ideas and content and prototypes? And how do we become the editors? And how do we really work together? And how do we navigate when AI does a better job at the things that we actually really like to do, and how we manage that. So before I jump into the questions, I wanted to quickly introduce this wonderful panel that we have. So Noelle Creamer is Chief People Officer at StrongMind, where she shapes people strategy, culture, leadership, development, and all with a human first and AI ready approach. And next up, we've got Arzu. She serves as HR Director for NJ Group Management, featured speaker on lots of topics on AI's impact on human resources and leadership. And then we've got Stacy Rays with us, is Vice President of People Excellence at Union Gospel Mission, with more than 20 years in HR and culture and building that excellence as well. And then lastly, we've got Jordan Kennedy, VP of People at Arcadia, with the mission to empower the workforce, fostering a culture of innovation and equity within the clean energy tech industry. And Jordan, if I may say, I saw a panel with you the other day, and your voice, it sounded painful, but dare I say also very sultry. So I'm excited to hear what you're like today too. But my name is Kate Marshall. I work with HR and executive teams as a fractional advisor, helping people navigate just, what is happening in this space. So we'll jump into the questions, but please connect with each one of these ladies on LinkedIn. They've got a lot of great content and great voices in the space. And I think, let's jump in. So I wanted to start with some examples. So when people think AI creativity, most jump to marketing materials, sales presentation, building out content, but creativity is starting to show in really clever ways as well. And I was hoping that, a few of you could jump in and just share some examples of how AI is currently being used in your practices, either enhancing human creativity or how you're managing it, and just give us some examples of what it looks like in the space for you. Who wants to jump? Jordan, go ahead.
I'm happy to go first. Kate, my voice has improved, but it is still a bit hoarse, so I apologize to our listeners. if I have any voice cracks today. So I think two parts to this question, Kate. One is I think when we in HR, when a problem arises, we immediately go into problem solving. And at Arcadia, we try to be, build and work with urgency. And so before we dive in and try to just solution fix everything, I think I'm trying to be more intentional about just take a moment and pause. How can AI help us here? Whether it's do it better, faster, stronger, or is there a different type of way to work the problem? So I even use, AI as a thought partner to say like, hey, here's the situation. Well, give me some ideas and let's workshop it together. So before just kind of immediately going to solutioning, I just take a step back and reflect on like what tools are in my toolkit and how AI can be incorporated into that and like being a thought partner. The one thing that we did that was pretty different at Arcadia this year is we built a performance buddy, is what we like to call it. I think everyone here has interacted with some form of an AI bot when they're online shopping or on some, storefront, or to ask you, how can we help you today? Essentially, Performance Buddy is we've built this bot and embodied a persona where it could coach leaders or managers to navigate through the performance review cycle. So we trained it and informed it on our policies, our coaching and performance management philosophy, how to give good feedback. And we infused it with internal and external information. So it's a really creative solution. If anything, it helped and alleviated our team as an HR team. We're small but mighty. But it empowered our workforce to get immediate answers with not overwhelming our team with just extra questions constantly. So, and the bot itself, I for anyone who's interested, I'm happy to talk with them separately. It sounds a lot more daunting than it actually is. It was very simple to do. We use Gemini in our workspace, but again, I'll stop there. But it was a really easy, creative solution for our organization.
Yeah, it's a great example.
Mm-hmm. I love that, Jordan. We actually do the same thing over at StrongMind. So we like to think of AI as kind of that almost like a personal executive coach for our leaders, right? And having that in their back pocket when they go into having tougher conversations with people. The AI is really there to kind of, like you said, it's there to mentor and to help guide our leaders with having those tougher conversations. But at the end of the day, the human is still in control, right? And they're the ones that are connecting with that person and having that human connection. So yeah, I definitely love that example.
And Noelle, I actually love that use case because there are certain things that there's an embarrassment level, and you may stretch a little bit more and be more open with an AI than you would with a person, just for fear of embarrassment, of how do I respond to this? How do I answer this? And so I love that, you can lean in on the human or lean in on the AI too, and maybe get a little more out of it. Oh,
totally.
I think I'm going to speak from maybe a different perspective because, I apologize for my voice. When Jordan had prefaced and was like, I sound hoarse, I'm like, okay, it's not at all. So I apologize for this voice. I'm going to take it from a different lens because of the work that we do is so different than everybody on the call. And so when, Kate, you spoke about some of the awkwardness and leaning into AI to help individuals, and Noelle had spoken about being a coach for leaders in the organization. We're a little bit different in that we're looking into leaning into AI for some of the more mundane, some of the non-humanness things. The work that we do is so human-centered that we need to create space for our leaders and for everyone, our team members essentially at UGM, to have those conversations, to really lean in more into those conversations. So if we could take things like scheduling, for instance, or more of the note taking, because we work so community focused, that individuals can have those conversations and make more space for individuals to connect on that way. All of the work we do at Union Gospel Mission is so human-centered. And so part of our role is in human resources or people and culture is to look at everything around that and how can we create more space and more time for individuals to connect. just because we are, I mean, in Vancouver in Canada here, we're so social justice focused, and we also really look at tones in how we're communicated, and so we're very careful about things like AI bot because it can be really off-putting. We also look at things through a trauma-informed lens, which AI is going to be a little bit. It's not going to get that human perspective that we really want, or the human touch that we're really looking for.
Yeah, no, and I love how you said that with just collapsing time and giving people more time back. Because when we think about creativity, I don't know anybody who doesn't want more thinking time, to not have to deal with the tasks and be able to get off of that meeting and actually use your own brain power and, use your favorite LLM too, to do it. So I love that you pointed that out. Arzu?
I completely, first of all, I want to welcome everyone from Azerbaijan, and I'd like to sincerely thank the organizers of this event for bringing together such important and timely topics. I warmly greet all participants and panel speakers. Now, I completely agree with all, but just I want to add one thing that, of course, AI is a faster. AI is a minimal cost and maximum benefit. AI avoids time wastes, help us never ask for raise, never fix, never gossips, and all of this sounds well. Now, should we think that business owners should hire AI and fire HR? And therefore get a great cost cut, or is it a drastic solution for all strategic problems? Of course, no. AI doesn't have emotions. AI doesn't have empathy, doesn't have a leadership. So AI is just a tool, not a purpose. We should use AI for humanity, for benefit of humanity, and we should put humans or staff in the center of company. So AI have to help us. As, for example, now we use AI as our assistant. We ask and we receive structured information from AI.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Okay, so when we are thinking about creativity in the space and synthetic creativity, AI is it can challenge us if we prompt it well enough. How are you all navigating the conversations within your teams about how to leverage and get the most out of that creative brain in the LLM?
I'll kick this one off. I would say that our philosophy is that it's human first and AI second. Especially when we're doing creative work, we like to just kind of brain dump on our own and then use AI to kind of clean up our kind of first messy draft. And we, collaborate in that ways. And I think it gives teams a good starting point for ideas and just to explore more possibilities as a partner with AI. But, the creativity for us is never really outsourced. It's just amplified in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Jordan?
Yeah, Noelle, to complement your response, I think, like you said, sometimes you just kind of have to play with the system. It's not going to be perfect. You can refine it, which is the cool feature. So we've tried to, coach the tool or give it feedback that as specific as possible about being empathetic, or, prompt it to serve the role as X and give it kind of an identity so it knows what core values or purpose it is. But I think sometimes we have to be open that it won't work the first time. I think sometimes we expect AI just to generate something perfect on the first try. So it's definitely a trial and error, and we certainly haven't figured it all out, but giving ourselves some grace to explore and be creative.
Yeah. It is definitely that garbage in, garbage out principle of when it's not working, I have to sit back and go, oh, it's my fault. I'm not doing a great job prompting it. Oh, Jordan, if I could stick with you for a second. The biggest opportunities and challenges in HR, leveraging AI to foster that innovation and creativity among employees. What do you see, are those biggest opportunities and challenges, and how do you navigate that?
I think for us, I've been seeing two areas. One is just the fear. It's a new skill.
Yeah.
I think sometimes folks are looking to someone who's a master of the skill. Look, none of us are. There's probably a very select few people who are masters of AI, but we are all learning this together. So just having some humility and vulnerability of, hey, look, we're on this journey together, and creating a space to foster that curiosity and just a shared learning experience. And hey, we're going to learn this together. So I think that's just one, is creating that leveling the playing field, if you will, just, making sure no one knows this and we're all learning this technology. And heck, the technology is evolving every 6 months. So we all have to keep up with the pace. So I think just being vulnerable and learning together in parallel. I think the other thing is, we do have, folks, and this isn't common to our company, but people are fearful of the technology. If we do this, what happens? What happens to my role? And so we really want to frame this tool as, how does it further enable and enhance your productivity and your output? It's a partner to improve in that space. It's not to replace it. It's, we still are very much human first, but how can it elevate your current output right now? So we're trying to put governance and guidelines and myth busts, if you will, of just what our intentions with an AI strategy are, but also creating that, environment of curiosity and shared learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this synthetic creativity, I think we all see it. If the models aren't trained well on your brand, your tone of voice, on what makes the organization special, it all comes out sounding the same.
Mm-hmm.
Stacy, if I could call on you, what are your thoughts on how to, keep the creativity flowing, keep things going within the people that you're working with, but also making sure that it doesn't all look and feel and sound the same?
Yeah, so I mean, in that aspect, if I can take our communications, for instance, or any kind of conversation that we're entering to, where we want to get the voices of different stakeholders, we can utilize AI to create a framework. We can also utilize AI to ask those questions that will be conflict invoking, so that we can have both sides of that lens, and we can have both sides of the conversation, just to lay it out, and so that there's opportunity to attack things and create strategies from all different sides. And it's awkward, I think it was mentioned earlier, to have sometimes conflicting or crucial conversations. And so if AI can ask those questions, so we can look at it from an objective, that it's not an attack on a specific person, that there's good and bad in that, and have those conversations when we come to the table. Because when we make decisions, we want to really ensure voices from all levels of the organization are heard. At UGM, when we're working particularly with the most vulnerable, we want to have the most vulnerable in mind as we make decisions. And sometimes for us, individuals who sit behind a desk, and we're not on the front lines, it's hard. It's hard to resonate on that level and to really know what the community, or how we're going to do things, do well by the community. We use this saying at UGM, it's like, to really truly meet. We really pride ourselves on meeting individuals where they're at. We're a place of second chances. How can we do that? And so if we ask AI to probe these questions ahead of time, before before we're going to engage in a conversation that's going to shape how the organization does things, I'm going to ask for all of those questions, so that it is objective, so that it's not coming from one side, so that we can have a collection of voices rather than just have a groupthink. And so sometimes that's what happens in organizations like nonprofits that we're serving, that we, in our sector, it's very for the person, and we want to do what's best for the individual, but it's for us, the realities that are, to make those decisions for them seems really, there's such a huge disconnect. And so we use AI in that aspect to let's devil's advocate it for us.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And when I am working with product teams, one of the first things that we do is build out all of the different customer avatars. And so, you can even do this for your leadership team or, I think that is synthetic creativity at its finest, where you're trying to get a sense of, who thinks about what, and then you can kind of test it on people before you send out that email. And I learn a lot about what I am building, when doing that. So, Arzu, did you want to land anything with this one too? I know you had some great ideas on it.
First of all, I want to speak about two challenging points about AI. I think the first challenging point about AI is forming right and appropriate questions. Because some users, especially beginners, may use AI as Google. They type random information as if AI understands all our intentions. The second and important challenging point may raise due to the reckless behavior of some users. They may download confidential data, pictures, for example, reports or statement of company. So we have to create some AI policy where AI can be used or cannot be used, and some ratio of using with AI tools. As for advantage that AI bring to us are numerous. Of course, AI minimizes the workload. AI helps us as translator, corrector, for example, and sometimes it ignites with completely new ideas about our stuff. And of course, AI provide us with creative thinking. We learn from AI and become better. Thanks to AI, we learn and receive more structured information within a couple of minutes. Prior to AI, we couldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. Noelle, if I could pick on you for a second. As AI is reshaping how we create and collaborate, how do you see HR's role shifting when we're looking at the curation of creativity with human potential and just keeping that sense?
Yeah, I truly believe that AI is really going to help HR teams to really become the hype team in companies. Like we are the team that is helping to design, work environments where both humans and AI can do what they each do best, right? And when we empower every person in the company to use AI tools that help them brainstorm or test ideas or just remove roadblocks that are in their way, or like we talked about earlier, just automating kind of those admin tasks or those processes that aren't as joyful for people to do in their roles, that really allows humans then our team members to have more fulfillment and focus in their role and kind of free them up to do that higher level, higher impact work. At StrongMind, we like to highlight and celebrate the people that are using AI. We always make sure that we put our team member front and center when there is something created with AI. We don't celebrate the AI or the tool. We celebrate the human behind that. And I think it speaks to that fear factor, right, that we talked about earlier as well. If we can continue to find those ways to celebrate our people and put them front and center, and show that it's okay to use AI in your role, but that you're going to be celebrated for it.
Oh, I love that. Okay. How? I would love it if you could share an example of, is it just an email out to the broader team, or are you doing special things? Because I think that is so vital to what organizations need to be doing to just showcasing their AI champions and celebrating them. Do you have any examples you can share?
We do. We are in a unique position because we are a company that is building AI products in the EdTech space. We're an EdTech company, but we use AI internally throughout our work and our workflows. We highlight people who use AI in our company newsletter that goes out monthly. We have an AI dedicated Slack channel. For instance, I just shouted out one of our engineers this morning because he built a custom tool while he's coding. When he's in his coding environment, sometimes he has to go out of that environment to ask questions, but it slows up his flow, it slows up his process. And so he built out a kind of like a little micro tool to be able to ask those questions inside his coding environment. And he shared that with the whole development team, which is, one of our values is collaboration, right? And so we encourage people to share, how are you using AI? How are you freeing up time and, expediting your workflows and all of these different things? Let's celebrate that. Let's share it across the organization so that we can all feel like we are learning and growing and experimenting as these tools continue to change and as AI continues to evolve. It's like, it's a collective, right? From the leadership all the way down and across the board.
Yeah, I love that. And okay, as you were mentioning that, I am curious, and if you can say anything, but is your leadership team, is your executive team in on this too? Like, are they experimenting and are they showcasing what they're doing?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Good.
One other way that we just collaborated with AI is that we built out all of our teams' user manuals, and it gives. We tasked our teams to build out the user manuals, and they partnered with AI to come up with all kinds of creative ways to kind of showcase who their team is, what their values are as a team, how they collaborate, and all of those things. And then we embedded those team user manuals into the onboarding and orientation experience for new team members coming in. So it was a lot of fun. It was super creative. It was a company-wide initiative that we did, and it really just allowed everybody from leadership all the way down to jump in, use the tool, and just have fun with it. I think that's probably one of the things that holds many people back is the fear, but also that things have to be perfect, and AI is not perfect. It's messy. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to be fun and creative and all of those things.
Yeah, and it is the fastest way to learn for sure. Oh, opening up to the group, does anybody else have any examples of things that you do to just elevate the people that are, taking those risks and being creative?
Similar to Noelle, we do Slack channels, we praise, and we really encourage folks to share, like even the smallest of success, like share it, let's celebrate it. We're all learning together. So we really want to encourage folks through our AI Slack channel, through our department channels to share findings and wins. The other way we're also trying to tackle and infuse AI into some of our problem solving is we have this tradition at our company where we call it a hackathon. And so everyone shows up with a problem and says like, okay, how can we tackle it? And so we're trying to infuse AI into it, saying, okay, how can AI help us here? And so again, it could have been the smallest piece of the puzzle that helped solve this greater picture or a smaller picture. But we set intentional time aside to tinker with problems and then strategize how we could have AI help us as a partner and a tool to solve it.
Yeah. Are any of you measuring that and measuring, when I think about how human resources teams can support, just the adoption, the implementation, the pushing of the people, are you measuring that in any way? And what does that look like? Stacy, you look like you're thinking.
Oh no, I'm just giggling to myself because we're not even at a place like we still have to. We're at a place very kind of baseline where we're trying to get people to buy into it. So I'm like, I'm just laughing to myself. I'm like, what would that seem like if it was like, oh, we're celebrating something that's so we're at an intersection where it's so anti thing because we are so human focused, right? So I'm like, the measurable for us is like it would be more of a manual kind of secret thing right now, but to get to a place where we are celebrating those things would be a little bit wild for us. So I'm thinking about that.
And I think it's a great thing to highlight too. I mean, ChatGPT's been out for 3 years now, but there are still organizations that are leaning very heavily in, and there are still others that are dealing with a lot of friction and a lot of people in fear. And it is certainly not common element in the space to be these high levels. So
I would just jump in and say, for anyone listening out there, talking about measurement, I would say just look at business wins, right? What kind of wins are you experiencing? What kind of energy is AI creating throughout your company? Look at things like faster turnaround times, better ideas, higher quality outputs that are happening, and then pair that with all of those engagement signals, right, that we track as an HR team. Things like increased collaboration or people just being freed up to experiment, right? Offloading those admin tasks and being able to experiment and really just have fun building again together.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we're exploring is just like basic usage, not even like if it generated an ROI. I mean, that's the goal, but just seeing like, are people using the tool or not, and understanding areas where they are or are not using the tool, and understanding, is it fear-based? Is it, I don't have training and I don't know where to start? And so trying to leverage our HR business partners teams to partner with those departments and just looking at utilization and helping, address any skills gaps or fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I do see some really good questions and comments in the chat. One is, organizations that are measuring, how are those measurements being used? And what I have seen is it is tied to your KPIs. So there are teams that are actually looking at time inside of an LLM, or how often is the sales team actually using these custom GPTs that, we built for them when they're on calls. And there are certainly ways to measure it. And I think it is wildly different from organization to organization. But that return on investment, it is hard to see straight away, I think, unless, if you're on a sales or marketing team. Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh. You guys, we only have 10 minutes left. Is there anything that any of you wanted to make sure to really land on this? I'm going to close out with just your one bit of advice, but we had, there's so much that we could talk about with regards to this synthetic creativity. I want to make sure that I leave room for any additional comments.
If you don't mind, I'd like to answer the previous question of.
Yeah, please.
Okay. We measure, we use a method before and after measurement, of course, in KPI. Currently, for example, we know the average HR process duration of average HR activity by the average HR employee. For example, the average job description preparation is handled by junior HR staff within 3 to 4 hours in total, for example. However, thanks to AI, we can carry out this process within an hour totally. So we gain extra 4 hours. So we can augment examples where we avoid waste of time and increase productivity. We can use it as KPI of our staff and understand how and who use AI tools. Return of investment, return of, for example, of, after some training or some actions, some projects,
Yes, I am very curious. So yes, you can absolutely, look at the time collapse, time saved, but do you do anything with that data? Is it just a slide on a sheet when you guys are in meetings to say, we check that box? Or are you doing something meaningful saying, okay, with that time we've saved, we're now allocating more time to X project? How are you guys thinking about that?
Yes, of course. Of course, in meetings, in our processes, when we discussion progress of our current tasks, for example, I ask my underlings about status of the daily tasks, and I ask them do this process more faster, use AI, and of course, not completely with AI, but assist, but ask AI to do this more quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Oh. All right, I'm going to go around the room and just say, if there's any one thing that you would love to see, inside of these teams in the next 30, 60, 90 days, probably not 30, it's holidays. But what is one piece of advice or one thing that you'd love to leave this group with?
I'm happy to go first. I think my biggest takeaway and recommendation is just to not lose your identity and your company's core values in this excitement of just launching AI endeavors. AI is here to help. It's here to help amplify humans, not replace them. And so how you articulate that and infuse it with your company's core values and your mission. And so as you're making decisions, working with your leaders, exploring tools and technology, don't abandon your company's core values and your company's goals. Make sure those are anchors in your decision-making framework and how you monitor progress or coach teams or even celebrate wins.
Yeah. I really love that, Jordan. I would definitely echo everything you just said. I think that, as leaders and as companies, we have to always reward the human, right? It's the human judgment, the storytelling, and all of the connection that happens between humans. And those are all the things that AI cannot, it can't replace, it can't replicate those things. And I think that keeping the values front and center first and foremost, and having ethics that are transparent and human-led so that people can really stay at the center of their work. And it's AI is kind of on the peripheral, but the human is at the core, at the center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think for me, and this is something we're trying to really emphasize even within our organization, is AI, we're having conversations around AI because I see you, I see your work, I see that the burnout exists within all of our programs teams, within all of our teams at our organization. And so this is a way that's going to, that we can leverage to give you more bandwidth, to allow for you to engage in more of the people-centered conversation, to have you not feel like you're being annoyed if someone's coming, one of your reports is coming to ask you a question. And so my response, at least for this is how we see you. This is how I see you, every single person at every single team member at our organization. And AI is just here to help you. So, really foster or really lean into that, and then ask for a bit of openness. I want you to trust me on a lot of things. The same way I want you to trust me in how we select your benefits as an organization. I want you to trust me in how we're going to utilize this tool while still ensuring, that privacy exists because of the vulnerability of our community that we work with. That it's not to replace you, that we're utilizing this tool to really focus on the human.
Yeah. Yes, trust. And that trust comes with transparency, though. And that's where I see a lot of organizations going the wrong direction when they're either making promises that nobody can, fulfill, or, making statements inside of their manifesto that we don't know what the future is going to look like. I think developing that trust, that's the core of what that role is. And we are all learning. We are all navigating this together. Nobody knows what the future is like. I saw another comment come through about we just need to know when AGI comes in and when these humans can be smart. It's like nobody has that timeline yet at this point. Everybody's suspecting, but it is a wild time to be in the business of people, for sure. So, Arzu, can I close out with you? Any parting advice? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Of course, AI is a good, but humans is the first. Don't be afraid of AI and other cutting-edge technologies, because as inventor of calculator didn't stop need for math teachers. So we have to improve our knowledge. We have to harness AI, as we told before. If we use it like our assistants, so neither of AI will steal our job. It's impossible because we are humans. We need humans. We need communication. As everyone, I remember that COVID pandemic situation when all of us need humans near us. We need it. So AI is not a threat for us. AI is a booster of our work. it's much easier our work to focus as HR to be more human-centered.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Oh, ladies, this was a great conversation. I think about what everybody is dealing with, especially in human resources. There are few technologies that have ever come that have been this challenging for us in the people department, and so it's interesting to navigate for sure. And I really, really appreciate your opinions and thoughts on this, and Hacking HR and Enrique for bringing us all together. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate, and thank you to all of you for being part of this phenomenal conversation about synthetic creativity, which ended up really being human creativity amplified by AI. So, not so much synthetic, but more having that co-pilot in our hands and allowing us to augment what we're capable of doing. So thank you so much to all of you. I'm going to let you go for now so that we can start getting ready to welcome our next panel. So once again, thank you all. Thank you, Kate, for leading this awesome conversation. And as we get ready to moderate the last or to launch the last panel of the day, for those of you who organize events, there's always this the event high, which is the excitement about putting together this phenomenal group of people, all these conversations that we have with the phenomenal speakers that we bring to the stage, and with all of you who are connected on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn right now. And that high is about to come crashing down because we have one more panel left in the event, the very last panel of the entire AI Summit. And this panel is called Intelligence Without Borders, Rethinking AI Access, Power, and Participation, and Building an Equitable Digital Future for All. And as I get ready to welcome this panel, and I know I'm using a little bit of your time, but as I get ready to welcome the panel, I want to once again tell you to thank all of you who have been connected in this event throughout the past 4 days. If you are just tuning in now, please know that all the videos will be available in the Hacking HR Lab community platform on Monday of next week. Same with the virtual diploma of attendance, which will be available to all our members. So for my team, please make sure that you're posting the link in the chat so that everybody knows where they have to create their accounts in order to access all the videos and the digital diploma of attendance. But without further ado, I want to welcome our next panel. I hope you are all ready to come to the screen. I see one of our panelists does not have the camera on. Giovanna, if you can turn it on just to make sure that your camera is working. But in the meantime, I'm welcoming everybody to the screen. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this conversation. Oh, there you are, Giovanna. I'm bringing you to the screen now. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Oh, the last panelist has just joined, Austin. Hello, Austin. So good to see you. We are about to kick this off, and I was just welcoming everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Natasha, thank you so much for leading this conversation. Please have fun, take it away, and we will be in the background if you need us, and ready to jump in at the end to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much, everyone.
Lovely. So here's our panel, the last panel for the day and last day of the summit as well. Intelligence Without Borders. I'm going to do a quick introduction for our panelists. We have Austin, the head of AI for Pixel Watch and on-device AI for Wear OS. Hi, Austin. Glad to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thank you so much.
Lovely. We have Jessica. She's the Director of People at Speed Art Museum. Thank you, Jessica, for taking your time to be with us.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
We have Irina. She's the Managing Director of People and Resident Services at the Kelsey. Hi, Irina. Thank you for being with us.
Excited to be here.
And I'm going to try the Italian pronunciation. Giovanna.
Yes, the name in Italian, but actually I'm Brazilian.
So she's the data and analytics expert at Kering. Thank you so much for taking our time, Joanna, to join us today. And we have Ying. She's the Global Head People Analytics at PepsiCo. Thank you, Ying. Lovely to have you with us on the panel.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
Lovely. So I think the first question which everybody would want to know is, how do we ensure that AI adoption doesn't deepen the digital divide amongst the organizations and the borders? This is an open question, and anybody may take the lead from the panel and others may follow.
I'm happy to start. AI doesn't automatically create opportunity, and without intention, it can really deepen the gaps that we already see in our society. The digital divide, though, isn't really just about like who has access to a smartphone or Wi-Fi. It's also about, who has access to training, support tools that fit their needs, and systems that work for them rather than against them. And if we deploy AI without thinking about that and without thinking about those unintended consequences, then we're going to see people who are already underrepresented, people with disabilities, BIPOC communities, low-income households, immigrants, rural residents, really being pushed farther into the margins. And inside organizations, these gaps really show up when AI tools are rolled out without accessible training, without multilingual support or accommodations for different learning styles and abilities. And when that happens, people with disabilities, BIPOC staff from underinvested communities, they don't face new opportunities, they face new barriers. So the solution isn't more AI, it's about adopting AI in ways that is, equity is built in from the start through human-led rollout, inclusive training, transparency, and accessible design. And that really ensures that AI supports everyone and not just those who are positioned to benefit. And when you roll out training, please make sure that you do it in plain language so that everyone can understand how AI works and what it does.
Yeah, I would say that, Arena, you are exactly spot on. It's not just about computing power, but also the AI literacy, right? If we know nothing about AI, we don't know how to use it, then, we are not really unleash the power of AI in that sense. One thing I would add on to what you covered is that also the influence over data and algorithms. I think we need in order to ensure inclusive AI development, we need to think from ethics perspective as well. So one thing is that, we should definitely promote the use of diverse and representative training data to train the AI models so that, we can avoid the propagation of bias in the training data into the model output. And also think from, the AI explainability perspective, we need to make sure that the users really understand why the AI is making a decision in certain ways, right? The other point I want to add is that, develop lightweight and low resource for AI tools would be very important in this case so that, the AI systems can be deployed to older devices, less powerful devices, or in areas with limited bandwidth. That will really help, push or improve the equity AI access.
Okay, I think that I can continue. For me, it's also when the thing talk about data literacy or AI literacy. I think that today we are even in a bubble of AI that just people that maybe work from big techs or on the corporate language that know well how it works. But I think that for the large population, they're just asking something about for ChatGPT or for generative AI, but it really miss that knowledge of challenging and what we are seeing it, even if a video, there's a photo generated by AI. So I think that there is this big gap between data literacy, between the people who work in the corporate environment and the rest of the population to have no contact directly with this kind of technology. They use more as an assistant and they don't know exactly how is the background. So I think that's really important to work on this side.
Great. So this brings me to the next follow-up question in that case. What do you think could AI contribute to for expanding the human capability rather than replacing or restricting it?
I'm happy to get the ball rolling on this question. So, undoubtedly, there are many areas of AI that I think we societally need to keep our eye on and pay attention to make sure that it doesn't replace the human capability, but truly augment human capability. And I think we already see so many fantastic examples of the ways in which AI not only performs really incredible services to the individual, but especially for those who might have certain functional abilities or might have certain disabilities as well. I think a great example is note-taking, which has been a huge trend among AI devices. I myself work on wearables predominantly. And we see that not only does these AI note-takers, in terms of their ability to augment humans' capability to remember and study, is great for people generally, but it's particularly great for people who might otherwise be challenged in those environments where they might have arthritis or a hand condition or something that makes it a lot harder for them to otherwise take notes in the meeting the way that someone else might have. Maybe they have an attention disorder. I myself have ADHD. I've learned to grow up in a world without the ability to have someone else augment my ability to remember. But I think about how incredible it would be to have entire transcript of a lesson with me anytime I go to a lesson as well. And so there's so many fantastic abilities where when you think about AI as a tool for augmenting human ability and enhancing it rather than replacing human ability and skill, all of a sudden you open a door of possibilities, not just for everyone, but especially with people who might have certain conditions or certain backgrounds that would otherwise make it harder for them to take advantage of certain resources. So I think there's an immense world of benefit to be gained here that we're starting to also see so much coming out from as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what Austin said. I think, when we first had this ChatGPT, right? Hit the word, people all thinking about, hey, how we can leverage this AI tool to help improve the productivity. I think, improving efficiency, productivity is sort of the table stake now. But then, we need to go to the second level, which is really exploring new opportunities that these whole, AI tools or systems are bringing us, right? That's exactly, what Austin kind of covered, and those new opportunities, will really kind of help us, and identify or create new job roles, right? People will, of course, build new skills to work with the AI to create new things. Maybe some of the things that we even haven't thought about, but that will become available in the future, in the near future. So that that way, do not really think about, hey, with the AI we no longer need the humans. No, that's not true, right? We still need the humans, and even with those productivity efficiency improvement, we still need a human in the loop, the human in charge, right? We still need to leverage people's critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, right? So essentially, we still have this human centricity mindset, right? Human in charge, human in the loop. Yeah.
I just wanted to add on to a little bit of that. It's just what I hear constantly being in a human resource role is that AI is replacing humans. AI is going to replace us. It's like trying to drive that message home that AI is not a replacement. AI is absolutely a tool, absolutely there as a resource to just expand human potential, expand what we already know to do. Austin, I also have ADHD, and having the tools now that will summarize and synthesize what has happened in a meeting when, yeah, I was there, I heard it. It's kind of hard to take notes, listen at the same time, and do all these things. So it's just such an amazing tool, and just trying to drive that home with, governance, of what's out there, the ethical and the ethical frameworks that we have around it, and just getting people to just trust that the tool that it is a tool and it's not a replacement. I just think that's just such probably the bigger thing right now that I'm struggling with AI, and how to communicate that out to people, that the tools that we have in place aren't to replace them, but they are absolutely here to make our work easier and better. Also just make our work help us work more efficiently and effectively, and make sure that our messages are I guess a more that they're for a diverse audience, and that that they are in plain terms, and that because sometimes we tend to speak we're in our fields and we speak in our field language, and everyone doesn't always understand that. And I think AI is very helpful in getting our messages out across the board to everyone, which I think in turn does break down those barriers, and kind of helps us not deepen the divide, but kind of bring us a little closer together.
I'll add on also. I feel like, to expand human capability, AI really needs to just do the tasks, and the people need to be the ones doing the teaching, the trusting, the connecting, and the problem solving. In that kind of world, AI isn't the gatekeeper or the decision maker, and it's really a tool that clears space for the human parts of our work and our lives. AI should reduce that administrative weight that keeps people from doing their best work. We know that when AI is used for tasks like drafting or summarizing or sorting information, it can really free up that significant time for staff to really focus on the deeper relationship-centered work. We also know AI has, real potential to support accessibility and communication for people with and without disabilities when it's designed with inclusion in mind. But we've also seen the risks, right? So we want to make sure that, especially in the workplace, when we're using AI, it should really help support staff to shine and not shrink what they're allowed to do. It should free staff from those repetitive tasks so that they can focus on that creative work and the relationship building and the problem solving. And it really also means making sure that we're giving the employees the training and the support that they need to use AI confidently, so no one's left out or falls behind because a tool wasn't introduced in an accessible or an inclusive way.
Great. There's some really nice insights out there in terms of how we can enhance the human capability, which then makes me wonder, are there any kind of design principles that leadership can consider to ensure that these AI systems contribute in advancing equity and not becoming a blocker in the long run?
One of the first things I'm thinking about is just the transparency with the algorithms and the information that's put out there. I think that's probably the first thing that comes to mind is that in ensuring that there is governance around that, to make sure that it's scrutinized and that it is that there's accountability for the information that's put out there, and that's built into the algorithms that in turn provide us with the data and information that we need. From an organizational perspective, that regulation and oversight of what's being used, that you have ethical framework, and that you have guidelines and principles that you have in place that align with your current principles and ethical guidelines that were in place prior to ChatGPTs and Copilot and all the other resources. So I think that's probably the first thing that I could think of, and I'm really interested actually to hear the others' insights on that as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, Ying, after you, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna say that I totally agree with what Jessica said. The transparency and the fairness part as well, right? We need to make sure that we have the tools, like auditing tools, developed to detect and mitigate the algorithmic bias to prevent the reproduction of historical discriminations. I think we all heard the stories, right? From Gemini. So all these needs to be carefully audited and mitigated. And also from the safety perspective, we need to make sure that the AI output is safe. There's no toxicity in the output. And also we need to introduce a regional context as well. Sometimes the output is totally okay for one region, for one culture, but it may be offensive for the people from a completely different cultural background, right? So, that way, all these tools needs to be built, coordinated, cross-cultures, so to ensure all the safety and ethical output.
Yeah. So, no, I think from my side, we can, of course, there's some leadership that will care about this, but we also have to think that a lot of leadership that won't care about it. So I think that's really important to have the government part that really should be like an audit, as normally we have in finance, where we're having other kinds of departments. I think that also should be some external party doing audits in AI, doing audits in algorithms, because we can see that, for example, a lot of diversity and inclusion companies, they are like dismantle this department. There's like a lot of people, change of departments, depends of the company, depends of the country. But I think that for really not expecting to the leadership to come from them, this initiative, because it would be nice if everyone would, care about this. But I think that's really important as also citizens to press the government to make more audit, not only in companies, but also in the new ways that the internet now is using AI for the good, but also for bad things. So for me, it's something that not only in companies, in corporate, but also in the government, that should be also laws and something to enforce it. So this is, I think, that the only way that can really find some inclusion or equitable way to use AI.
I think the fellow panelists did such a fantastic job speaking to the complexities and nuance of this problem. I think in your point, especially on regional differences and how culturally different words or ideas can have different meanings is so important. The one point that I think I'll add as maybe a net new is thinking about equity and inclusion for those who might be outside of the company but trying to come in. So much of traditional roles in employment rely on people coming in at an entry level at that bottom rung of the ladder with tasks that are very similar to the ones that AI are doing today, like summarization, meeting notes, processing of data, highlighting these sorts of memos for more senior people on the team. And as we start to augment the capacities of those more senior people, I think we've seen at many companies those roles at the very entrance of these career ladders starting to disappear. And I think that has real equity impacts, especially when you otherwise might not have a network or access to these companies. If you can't network your way in or get a job because someone at the company is a family friend and can help land it, there's just less demand for these entry-level roles because we frame these entry-level roles as cheap free labor for these tasks that need to be done so you can then build them up. I think there needs to be a real reworking from a lot of leadership and talent organizations about how they cultivate and train their early talent, such that as more senior leadership continues to have their capabilities augmented and enhanced, that doesn't implicitly start to take opportunities away from people who are just leaving the education system. I think we saw a statistic lately of, I think 13% of new grads with a college degree are unemployed, which is the highest it's ever been in the United States, at least. The statistic is from the United States. And so there's clearly some impact there where I don't think we've quite thought far enough about how augmenting these abilities impacts people's ability to then access job and work opportunities that might have otherwise been available to them.
Yeah. Austin, I think it's such an important topic that you brought up. One thought that, I've been thinking, I have a college student at home, so I've been thinking about it. I think one thing is that all the colleges, they probably need to revise, update their curriculum, really get their graduates, ready for the workforce. Students should be able to definitely need to have the skills to work along with the AI tools, right? So that, hopefully they can step into the workforce, not as a fresh graduate, but maybe, already at the mid-level, so that they, they can, they do not need to start from the jobs or roles which can be easily automated by the AI tools, right? Yeah. The colleges definitely has, certain responsibilities and accountability.
Absolutely. And I myself work with quite a few universities in San Francisco where I'm based. I think there's a partnership to be had where I see so many universities begging to have someone in industry be able to talk to them and tell them what's the skill set, what's needed.
Yeah.
And so as much as colleges need to be able to adapt and change how they fundamentally teach from this heavy emphasis on liberal arts and intellectual exploration, which I think is very important, does that necessarily translate to career preparation and helping those colleges understand what that career preparation looks like from an industry perspective about what we believe the right skills, the enduring qualities that we would want to see in a young workforce is equally important. And so I completely agree with your point there, Ying. There's responsibility to be had on both sides of the equation.
And this brings me an example because I participated of a volunteering that with young people in a vulnerable situation, let's call it this way. And it's I'm from Brazil, but I also work in Argentina. So with Argentina, vulnerable young population. And basically what you have to do is online, the volunteer. So basically is to help them to make a CV, to say, okay, how to, do in an interview, like really the basic. And like maybe they like don't know what they want to study, or like they just started university and they have to work at the same time that they like university. And I remember that there was this young lady, and she was like, okay, what do you like to do? And she's like, yes, I just started I want to be a graphic designer. She just told me this. I'm like, I just take a deep breath, and then I don't know exactly what to do, because I know that today for a young person such as her, like in a really vulnerable situation, maybe graphic designer, it was like, and it was when the Midjourney was like exploding, like it was like, I don't know, 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, what I should do? Because I will not say that, I will not encourage her to say, yeah, no, it's great graphic designer, like it's a great place to start. Like it's something that I would say, if you really want to do this, please try to understand how you can use those tools. And then I sent her some links. I hope that now she can use it, or I'm not sure, but try to understand those tools, because because in university, you are not going to learn, like you're going to learn really the theoretical, like what is a design, some art, like it would be really like about art, but would not be, okay, how is the market right now? So I would say, like, even if you want really to do this, please try to learn and try to run it now. Like, don't wait like 1 year, 2 years after you finish your university or your first degree. Try to learn it now, and then maybe try to find a side work beside it, just in case. But I think that we also have to think about these young people that don't have maybe parents or some role models to indicate them, like, what is the best way that they can study it, and then maybe they can, choose this kind of job that we know that is heavily impacted by AI. And how we is, like how we as society, we can help those people. And also even have to do like a CV, like to make an interview, like how they can use AI as a coach in an interview, for example. Because before it was like, but how can you now try to use this to get a job? I think that this is also is really important.
I think this is some great convo on, educational space and differences. And I want to just throw out one more additional principle, and that's co-design. AI has to be built with the communities that are most affected and not just tested on them. Disability rights activists coined the phrase, nothing about us without us. And this applies to AI as well. People with lived experience need to be at the table as decision makers, and we need to pay them for their time. And so co-design is a huge piece of developing AI as well.
Wow, great insights. So in that case, what would your suggestion be for the governments across the world to look at in their policies and their grassroots level efforts to create AI as more of an active agent rather than just being a noise where organizations and universities and everybody else is only talking about the negative impact. So are there any immediate and impactful actions that you can suggest?
Austin, I think that you.
Austin, I think you're on mute.
Whoops, sorry about that. What I just said was incredible and will never be able to be said again. So, no, I'm kidding. I'll get the ball rolling on this one, and I would love to get the perspective of everyone else in the panel as well, candidly. But I've had the opportunity to work with a few local governments in the United States. My home state of North Carolina is one such government. And I think there is an immense amount of, and I'll answer this question from two lenses, from the governments who the technology is already built for them and the governments where the technology isn't built for them. The governments where the technology is built for them, I think there's so much potential to augment and really create more efficient, automated means of governance in ways that not only are more efficient for those who are already in that government position, but potentially also more equitable and accessible as well. So with a lot of these new AI capabilities, right, being able to ingest and process and find insights and data has never been more powerful. And those are oftentimes the sort of task that is hardest to do in a government agency, right? To just freely look at and process thousands of feedback form responses from, a local community forum, right, is something that would be, if you have time for it at the end of the day, task for maybe a local administrator. But now, the same way in which AI can potentially impact these jobs or roles or opportunities that might be at the beginning of the career ladder, they can create and expand capabilities for agencies or institutions that might be resource constrained. And so they were never going to be able to bring someone in to do this role specifically, but now they have these new capabilities. In addition to that, with this wave of generative AI, it diminishes the barrier of access for people who might be less technically literate. So for example, it might be very difficult for your grandmother to use an online form to submit their feedback, and maybe they don't have the capability to have someone manning the phone line. But with some of these new generative AI models that are so flexible and adaptable and also personable sounding, it makes it much easier for someone to share feedback directly and have that feedback automatically processed and ingested and turned into very salient data points that can be used for making local government decisions, right? And so there's a lot of great technology that could be employed, and I think very smart ways to expand the government's ability to hear its constituents and act on them appropriately and find the right insights. And so I would encourage those governments that have the AI that's already built for them to think about the ways in which they can expand their capabilities. I think there's many governments globally, especially in the global south, that doesn't have AI built for them. Many AI models, when they first get built, launch in English only, and then they basically expand their market availability based off of the relative economic importance of the region that language is associated with. And so you'll see a lot of governments that never have these models at the frontier built for them. And so for those governments, I think there's a really interesting and complex dynamic that they enter of the value of their data and their unique cultural insights versus the value of having immediate technical solutions, right? I think there's a world where you could say, hey, create a partnership with a major tech company, give them all your local regional data, they'll create a model that finally works for you and you're good to go. But then you've also given up the thing that is most unique and powerful as an asset that you as a regional government might have, which is your unique local data that might not be easily recreated or re-identifiable. In this era of AI model development, data is basically the oil that powers it, and the people that have access to the best or most nuanced data can then create the best models. And so maybe you don't give it away for free, but there is like a real I think, challenge and balance of thinking about how do you trade off between getting technology and capabilities versus maintaining ownership of the thing that is most indispensable and most valuable, which is that unique regional data. I think it's a very complex challenge, and we're seeing many governments have different approaches on it, either trying to do their own domestic initiatives to develop their own models or partnering directly with major institutions to do so. But it's, I think, something to really think about, because that data is much, much more valuable than we often realize. I know as an individual myself, I don't think much of my personal data, but it turns out that in aggregate, it is incredibly valuable, and a government represents people in aggregate.
I totally agree with what you said, Austin. You know, great points. Especially on the for the government who are not there yet. I think for those, you know, governments tends to be from low to mid-income countries. I think, you know, their benefit, you know, I think their advantage is really at developing local language and cultural data sets, as you said. I mean, there's no point for them to compete with, hey, Meta, OpenAI, you know, all these, right, Western, you know, models, but rather their, you know, advantage is really on these local, focus on the local data sets they have, and also to really encourage and establish open source AI commons, so that, you know, people can build on top of each other instead of each, you know, research centers or companies building their own proprietary models. I think that's also very important. I think, you know, it's kind of the responsibility of those local governments. The other thing is that I feel like government, you know, should also make policies to prioritize data regulations, so that can mandate, you know, local data residency, as well as, you know, sharing that for public benefit, so that, you know, really to encourage local developers and researchers to leverage data, right, to share the data and then build on top of each others. So I think that, you know, will really help, like, build a very beneficial ecosystems and improve the overall AI status, you know, for those countries.
I gave a moment of silence to see if any other panelists wanted to contribute as well. All right. Lovely thoughts up there. So I would love to know, and so would the audience, if we now step back and see the context in terms of the technological limitations, the country-specific limitations, or let me say the border limitations, the corporate limitations, people limitations, a whole host of limitations around this whole AI bubble. What is that one advice that you have for the leaders that can help them cut the noise and really focus on delivering value with equitable digital future for all? So I'm going to call out the panelists' names so that we have enough time for everyone to speak, and then we can wrap up. So I am going to start with Irina, because she's showing first on my screen.
Yeah, I would say interdependence. You know, we have to recognize that technology and AI isn't separate from the world. It's shaped by our societies and our histories and our power structures, and decisions about AI shouldn't be made by one country or one company or one group of people, but governments, businesses, communities, everyday people. We all have shared responsibility for how AI is built and how it affects people. So no single group should set the rules for billions of others. We've seen what happens when power is concentrated. AI starts reflecting the perspectives of those who hold influence, while the needs and realities of others, like folks with disabilities, BIPOC communities, low-income communities, and many parts of the global south, are ignored. We also know that strong governance really requires that transparency and that human oversight, the right to be able to question or appeal decisions made with AI, and a real commitment to sustainability. So we have to have interdependence, but it has to be grounded in AI has to be grounded in human rights, disability justice, racial equity, global participation, and really considering that we have to prioritize people over profit and speed.
Great, Irina. And I now invite Giovanna.
Yes, so as I think that Irina was saying, that I think that resonates right now with me is that I think that today we have more like the big techs deciding who is using AI, how it's going to be used, and the government just watching. Like, I'm not saying in a specific country, but I think that today is how it's being done. And the population, they're like using AI to say, yeah, let's say some, I don't know, some figures, or like, let's just generate some images, some memes, you know, like, but then people, they don't know exactly what is behind these, what people are doing with their data. So I think that it's such important to have this literacy, but for who does come from this literacy? From the government, because the companies, it doesn't, I think that most of them is not really worth for them to the people know what is behind or how these things are done. So I think that, again, like for me, data regulation, data audits, from the part of the government, and some literacy in the schools. But I know, again, like the schools is a little bit more difficult because right now we have a different time with AI and different time what is school. So in the children, like in the schools, there's like the teacher talking and writing, and then it's even feel more like slower for them to learn in that way. Then we have a cell phone that gives you everything at the same time. So yes, I would think that right now what I should think is how this is going to impact, especially the vulnerable people, the young, like we saw, like the students, the people that are trying to get a job, how they can use AI as something that would be advantage for them in this context right now. That I'm not sure if it's going to change or if it's going to be this bubble of AI and then the rest of the population. I hope that it will not be the case. I hope that this bubble could, explode, and then people, they can use more AI more like in a conscious way.
Lovely. I invite Jessica.
Sorry, I was trying to get my mute off. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on the question. You're just thinking of the, what is the one, I guess maybe sort of
advice,
foundational principle. Okay, so what I was thinking as I was listening to Irina and Giovanna, I was thinking, just the ethics and accountability. Ethics plays a big role in everything, obviously, with the application of AI. I think from a business context, and even just across the different sectors and businesses, you have to know that people need to understand whether, we're using AI, genuinely to help users or manipulate them or manipulate data. I mean, people need to know and feel secure that the data that they're being offered as a tool is actually what it's being offered for, and it's being used for what it says it's being used for. But then just that accountability for those times, unfortunately, where people are held accountable for their actions when the decisions and the actions and the information that's created through some AI creators are not what it's supposed to be, or if it does cause a divide, or if it does, cause harm in some type of way. And just having that governance across the board, I think would also help with the trust that people have that, again, AI is not here to replace, but to support and to enhance the human capability and to help us do better in our work so that we can manage those sometimes cumbersome administrative tasks or tedious tasks, so that we can be able to do really like the deep work that we're doing. So I really do believe that the ethics and accountability plays a huge part in that.
Lovely. So we have last 3 minutes left. So let's go with Ying.
All right. Okay. So I would say that for those countries who are trying to catch up in this, AI era, I think it's very important for them to have a clear roadmap towards a North Star that they want to achieve, and then have a clear understanding of their own strength and weakness, and build on top of their strength and set up, ethical design principles, and meanwhile really build up the AI literacy and the data literacy skills among the people. I think that, that will really help them get where they want to go.
Lovely. And Austin, the final words.
Of course. So I think there's so much incredible commentary that's been from the panel already. So I'll try to take a direction that hasn't been said before. And that I think intention is very, very important. Really having a clear idea of what AI is even supposed to be doing for you and your organization is so critical. It's fundamentally a tool when used best. And you wouldn't order, 5,000 staplers to your office and just hope that, hey, everyone starts using a stapler. Or you order 1,000 hammers and you hope everyone starts using a hammer more. You should really have a clear understanding of what this tool is supposed to be used for. And I think that starts with leadership. I think I think the scary truth is a lot of people have simply not interacted or used these tools in a way that they are then expecting their constituents or their workforce or other people to use them in. And I think it's just so difficult to speak about something when you yourself haven't used it, and it's all snake oil, right? Or I shouldn't say snake oil. It's all effectively magic, because you really don't know like what you're even engaging with or working with. And so I think the only way that you can set intention is to have that experimentation yourself. And with that personal experimentation and learning more, makes it so much easier for you to then come in and say, this is what this technology is about, and this is what it enables fundamentally.
Awesome. And this was absolutely on time. Thank you so much, everyone. Great insights, great conversation. And Enrique, lovely to have you back.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this phenomenal conversation. And Natasha for leading this wonderful conversation as well. For now, we are going to let you go so that you can continue with whatever it is that you have going on today, Friday. Thank you so much, everyone. So Jessa, please feel free to help me out. Send this wonderful group of people back to their days. And for everybody who has been tuning in, that was the very last panel session of our AI Experience Summit. I hope this summit with the 19 sessions, the four fireside chats, the 100 speakers that joined, all the interactions that were happening in the chat, I do hope that this has been incredibly useful for you, that you have learned a lot, that you're walking away with a community, with insights, with ideas, with awakened curiosity about what it is that AI can and can't do. As I mentioned at the beginning, and we have been mentioning this throughout the summit, I want to invite you to a couple of things. The first one is, if you scan this QR code on your screen right now, you will be able to go straight into our Hacking HR platform, create an account, and you will have access to the videos of the summit, and they're going to be ready on Monday. And you will also have access to download your digital diploma of attendance if you joined all the event or if you watch the recorded videos. Simultaneously, I also want to invite you to join us in our mini master program on the practical applications of AI, which begins in January, and it goes over for the following 19 weeks. And we are going to be covering a lot of good material. So other than that, everybody, I hope this was great and helpful and valuable and relevant and practical for all of you. And we will see you around in on LinkedIn or the internet in our programs. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to all the speakers, to all our awesome sponsors, Spark Hire, Kika Pearson, Learn Worlds, Personality Pool, Opkey, M-Train, and HeartCount for supporting us to bring this event to a community of thousands of people around the world. And thank you to the team in Hacking HR for the hard work for the past many months to put together this summit. So thank you so much, everybody. I guess we will see you when we see you again. Thank you so much, everyone. See you soon. Thank you.